Be me, 24-year-old IT drone, living with a strictly platonic female roommate for 4 solid years. Zero romantic tension. We are practically asexual around each other. It's mid-July, the kind of oppressive summer heat that literally melts asphalt. We decide to drive 2 states over on a Saturday morning. Why? Because there's a dying mall in Ohio rumored to have a liquidation sale on retro SNES cartridges. We are massive idiots. My Honda Civic is basically held together by rust and sheer willpower. Hour 4 on the highway. The dashboard suddenly lights up like a panicked pinball machine. A sound erupts from the hood like a blender chewing through a bag of loose change. Thick gray smoke pours through the AC vents. We manage to limp off a gravel exit before the engine totally dies. The alternator is completely fried. Cell service is non-existent. We drag our bags 2 miles down a cracked road to a town with a population of maybe 12. There is exactly 1 motel. The neon sign has 2 burned-out letters. It just reads, "Tell." The lobby smells like mothballs and profound desperation. The old guy behind the bulletproof glass informs us there is exactly 1 room left. We take it because sleeping on the shoulder of Route 9 is not an option. Open the door. It smells heavily of stale cigarette smoke and cheap bleach. There is 1 double bed. The mattress dips in the middle like a geological sinkhole. I confidently flip the switch for the AC window unit. It violently coughs out a single puff of lukewarm dust and dies completely. It is 95 degrees inside the room. Within 10 minutes, we are sweating right through our t-shirts. She opens her duffel bag and pulls out a plastic flask of gas station whiskey. Kentucky Deluxe, the kind of liquor that doubles as industrial solvent. She takes a heavy pull, grimaces, and hands it to me. We sit on the edge of the sinkhole mattress, passing it back and forth, just desperately trying to numb the sheer misery of the situation. The heat is making us completely delirious. The cheap booze isn't helping. 4 years of carefully maintained boundaries start sweating out through our pores. We are trapped in a sweltering airless box. Someone leans in first. To this day, neither of us will admit who it was. The whiskey tastes like burning copper. The lumpy mattress springs groan in pure agony. We cross the ultimate irreversible line. Wake up the next morning feeling like a piece of dehydrated fruit. The reality of what we just did hits harder than a dropped concrete block. The tow truck finally arrives at 10 o'clock. We cram into the front cab with the driver. He's a massive guy who smells strongly of diesel fuel and old onions. It is a 3-hour ride back to our city. Nobody says a single word, not 1 syllable. The silence is absolute. It is physically suffocating. I stare out the greasy window at the passing highway markers. She stares down at her phone with a completely dead battery. I just destroyed the best living arrangement of my life for 10 minutes of heat-induced stupidity. Now we have to go back to our tiny apartment and figure out how to survive the aftermath. 3 weeks pass, 3 agonizing weeks of tactical avoidance. We are living in an active war zone of silence. If she is in the kitchen, I am locked in my bedroom. If I am in the living room, she is suddenly fascinated by the grout in her shower. Verbal communication is completely dead. We develop a new language, neon post-it notes on the refrigerator. It starts practically. Milk expires Tuesday. Don't be a savage. It quickly escalates into aggressive territorial disputes. You use my good olive oil. I will end you. It is exhausting. By week 3, the tension in the apartment is dense enough to stop bullets. Then the annual downtown street fair rolls around. Before the motel incident, this was our yearly tradition. Deep-fried Oreos and aggressively complaining about the crowds. I naturally assume we are skipping it this year. I wake up Saturday morning to a violently pink post-it on the bathroom mirror. We are going to the fair. We are totally normal and fine. Be ready at noon. She is operating on pure, weaponized spite. I put on my shoes and accept my fate. We walk through the fairgrounds exactly 3 feet apart. The silence is louder than the bootleg carnival music. We pass a crowd cheering around a folding table, the El Diablo radioactive taco eating contest. She strictly hates spicy food. Black pepper makes her sweat. Before I can blink, she slaps $20 on the registration table. She wants to prove how completely unfazed and casual everything is. She takes a seat next to a guy the size of a cement mixer. The announcer yells for them to start. She grabs a taco dripping in violently red ghost pepper sauce, takes a massive, defiant bite, chews exactly twice. Her face loses all human color, turning the shade of old wet paper. She doesn't even have time to turn around. Projectile vomits immediately. A geyser of regret and unchewed tortilla hits the pavement. The crowd collectively recoils in absolute horror. I sprint forward, grab her by the arm, and drag her out of the screaming mob. We speed walk 3 blocks to the nearest pharmacy. The fluorescent lights inside hum like an angry beehive. I expect her to run straight for the Pepto-Bismol aisle. Instead, she marches right past the stomach medicine, past the pain relievers, straight to family planning. Her hands are visibly shaking as she snatches a box off the shelf. There is pure, unadulterated panic in her eyes. She slaps it down on the checkout counter. The bored teenage cashier slowly rings up the pregnancy test. We step back out into the sweltering afternoon heat. She looks down at the plastic bag in her trembling hands. Then she slowly looks up at me. We sprint across the sweltering asphalt to a rundown gas station. The fluorescent sign buzzes like an angry wasp. She beelines for the public restroom. I stand guard outside the dented metal door like a wildly unqualified bouncer. Overhead, a cracked speaker blasts royalty-free elevator jazz. It sounds like a saxophone drowning in a swamp. 3 minutes on the timer. It feels like 3 consecutive lifetimes. The lock clicks. The door slowly creaks open. She doesn't say a single word, just holds up the little plastic wand. The dingy yellow bathroom light hits the display window perfectly. 2 aggressively pink lines. The upbeat jazz music suddenly feels like a personal insult. We zombie walk out to the parking lot, cram ourselves into the front seats of my rust bucket Civic. Nobody turns the ignition key. The dam finally breaks. We both start hyperventilating at the exact same time. Loud, ugly, rhythmic gasping. It sounds like 2 pugs fighting over a chew toy. I blindly reach into the back seat, grab a greasy paper bag of churros we bought before the taco incident. They are room temperature and incredibly stale. We don't care. We aggressively stress eat them in perfect panicked synchronization. Cinnamon sugar explodes absolutely everywhere, coating the dashboard, our clothes, the steering wheel, chewing violently between frantic gulps of air. Once the bag is completely empty, the sugar crash hits, followed immediately by the sheer financial terror. I reset passwords for middle management. She pours latte art for angry hipsters. Between the 2 of us, we can barely afford name-brand cereal. How the hell are we going to afford a human child? She sticks out a trembling, sugar-coated pinky finger. I hook mine tightly around it. An ironclad, desperate blood pact in the front seat of a Honda. Not a single soul finds out. Total information blackout. At least until we can formulate a workable survival plan. First things first, we need actual medical confirmation. I pull out my phone with shaking hands. Load up my company's health insurance portal app. Stare entirely blankly at the screen. What the hell is an out-of-network deductible? What is a copay? Why is an out-of-pocket maximum the price of a used jet ski? We stare at the insurance PDF until the words blur into an ancient Sumerian curse. Neither of us understands a single syllable of our healthcare plans. Calling a real OBGYN requires an upfront deposit that rivals our monthly rent. We pivot to desperate Google searches. Cheap pregnancy confirmation near me. Cash-only medical clinic. We find a place called the Radiant Lotus Wellness Sanctuary. It boasts a flat $60 consultation fee. Perfect. We drive to a gentrified strip mall next to a vape shop. Push open the bamboo-beaded door. The waiting room smells like burning sage and unwashed yoga mats. There is a looped track of chanting monks playing from a Bluetooth speaker. A guy walks out from the back room. He is wearing loose linen pants and absolutely zero shoes. His gray ponytail reaches the middle of his spine. He introduces himself as River. He does not ask for our last names or medical history. He just hands us a clipboard made of recycled hemp. We follow him into an exam room lit entirely by Himalayan salt lamps. No ultrasound machine, no sterile paper table cover, just a velvet massage bed and a poster of the human chakra system. River asks her to lie back and center her breathing. He pulls out a hollow wooden tube. It looks like a prop from a high school play about the plague. He presses one end to her bare stomach and the other to his ear. closes his eyes and hums a low, resonant note. I am literally sweating through my button-down shirt. We just paid $60 for a medical diagnosis from a guy who probably eats tree bark. River suddenly pulls away and beams. "Ah," he whispers reverently, "you have a thriving little energy crystal growing in your spiritual garden." My brain completely flatlines. An energy crystal. She stares at the ceiling, looking like she wants to sink through the velvet table. River ushers us out of the room with gentle sweeping hand gestures. He hands her a towering stack of poorly printed pamphlets. I glance down at the top one. Returning to the Roots, a guide to unassisted forest birthing. We burst out of the clinic doors and into the unforgiving afternoon sun. I clutch the pamphlets. She clutches her stomach. The absolute terrifying reality of the situation finally crushes the denial out of us. This isn't a false positive. This isn't a bad taco. We are actually bringing a human life into this apocalyptic reality. My phone suddenly buzzes in my pocket, shattering the heavy silence. A group text from our mutual buddy, Mark. "Zombie escape room birthday bash starts in 1 hour. Don't be late. We haven't slept, we have zero plan, and we are holding a guide to birthing in a bush. Now we have to go get locked in a fake basement with 6 of our closest friends." We pull into the parking lot of Apocalypse Escape, running 15 minutes late, still completely reeling from the barefoot holistic doctor. My roommate looks like she is ready to fight a lawnmower. Mark is waiting by the entrance wearing a plastic sheriff badge. 5 of our other friends are already inside, buzzing with cheap craft beer energy. We are operating on pure adrenaline and repressed terror. A bored teenage employee locks our phones in a wooden lockbox. He reads the safety rules in a completely deadpan monotone. We are ushered into a dimly lit room designed to look like an abandoned morgue. Fake blood on the walls, flickering fluorescent lights. The heavy steel door slams shut behind us. The digital countdown timer on the wall blinks to 60 minutes. Everyone immediately scatters to look for hidden keys and blacklight flashlights. I just stand in the center of the room, staring blankly at a plastic skull. My brain is completely overloaded by impending fatherhood. She is aggressively tearing open desk drawers, not to solve the puzzle, just to take out her aggression on fake furniture. 30 minutes left. Tensions are running astronomically high. Mark is screaming about a numerical cipher on a clipboard. I am sweating through my shirt for the 3rd time today. Then the main gimmick triggers. A hidden door swings open with a deafening hydraulic hiss. A paid actor in torn scrubs and rotting latex makeup stumbles out. He is groaning and dragging his left leg, the interactive zombie mechanic. If he touches you, you have to sit in a penalty box for 5 minutes. Our friends shriek and scramble into the corners of the room. The actor locks eyes on my roommate. She is frozen by a fake autopsy table, holding a severed rubber foot. He lunges toward her with his arms outstretched. He gets way too close to her stomach. My primal, completely unhinged protective instincts instantly override rational thought. I cross the room in 3 massive strides. I grab the teenage zombie actor by the shoulders of his fake bloody scrubs. I violently shove him backward into an open metal locker. The impact clangs loud enough to wake the actual dead. The actor yelps in genuine, out-of-character terror. "Back off!" I scream at the top of my lungs. "She is with child!" The words echo off the fake concrete walls. The countdown timer hits exactly 0. A loud buzzer goes off, signaling our failure. Nobody moves a single muscle. The zombie actor slowly scoots out of the locker and flees through the employee exit. 6 of our closest friends are staring dead at us. Mark slowly lowers a plastic femur bone. All escape room puzzles are completely abandoned. We are trapped in a fake morgue lit by a cheap strobe light. Total suffocating silence descends on the room once again. 6 interrogating stares are burning holes right through our souls. The ironclad blood pact just spectacularly imploded. Suddenly, my phone starts loudly ringing from the wooden lockbox on the wall. The custom ringtone is unmistakable. It is my wildly overbearing mother. Retrieve the phone from the wooden lockbox. Our 6 friends are still staring in absolute stunned silence. I ignore them entirely and answer the call. It is my wildly overbearing, perfectionist mother. She demands a mandatory dinner catch-up. Tonight. I realize this is our best window to rip the Band-Aid off. We desperately need a neutral, highly public space. Somewhere fancy enough that she can't physically assault me without getting arrested. I book a table at the most expensive sushi restaurant downtown. We arrive looking like we just survived a minor apocalypse. My mother is already seated in a velvet booth. She is wearing a pearl necklace and an expression of pure judgment. She immediately orders the colossal premium sushi boat for the table. Raw salmon, yellowtail, fatty tuna. The wooden boat arrives, taking up entirely too much space. My mother aggressively gestures with her chopsticks. She commands us to eat. My roommate politely declines. She casually mentions she can't consume raw fish right now. She asks the waiter for a plain, fully cooked cucumber roll instead. My mother completely freezes. Her chopsticks drop onto her porcelain plate with a sharp, echoing clink. She slowly lowers her gaze to my roommate's stomach. Then she slowly raises her eyes to meet mine. A gasp escapes my mother's lips. It is so dramatically loud that it cuts through the ambient restaurant jazz. 3 neighboring tables instantly freeze mid-bite. A businessman drops a piece of sashimi directly into his lap. I brace myself for the inevitable nuclear explosion. I fully prepare to be written out of the will and verbally annihilated. Instead, my mother's eyes ignite with a terrifying militant spark. She violently shoves the massive sushi boat to the edge of the table. She digs frantically into her designer handbag, pulls out a gold-plated pen, and snatches a paper napkin. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. She instantly transforms into a 5-star general of maternity. "Are you taking prescription folic acid?" she barks. My roommate stammers out a pathetic, terrified "no." My mother begins aggressively scribbling on the soy sauce-stained napkin. She starts muttering rapid fire about organic calcium supplements. She completely maps out a high-yield college trust fund right next to a smear of wasabi. I am completely stunned into utter silence. She glares at me with dead serious eyes. My grandchild will absolutely not be attending a public kindergarten. We just survived the maternal boss fight without a single scratch. I take a deep, massive sigh of relief, but my roommate's face suddenly drops into a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. She tightly grips my wrist under the oak table. "My dad," she whispers with a violently trembling voice. "We have to tell my dad tomorrow." Her father owns a struggling auto shop. He is a towering, grease-covered mechanic with severe anger issues. I stare at my untouched cucumber roll. I suddenly lose my appetite entirely. Sunday morning arrives with a heavy sense of impending doom. We are driving to her father's auto shop on the edge of town. The Civic's engine rattles nervously. My stomach matches the exact rhythm. Her dad is a formidable man. He is 6'4" of pure calloused muscle and unresolved anger. We pull into the gravel lot of Big Mike's Automotive. The garage doors are rolled wide open to the sweltering heat. The air smells heavily of motor oil, stale sweat, and burnt rubber. We slowly walk into the cavernous concrete bay. He is currently up to his elbows in thick black grease, violently wrestling a heavy iron engine block out of a rusted pickup truck. The deafening shriek of an industrial air compressor suddenly kicks on. It sounds like a jet engine preparing for takeoff inside a tin can. My roommate forcefully nudges me forward like a human shield. I clear my throat, but it comes out as a pathetic, dry squeak. He doesn't even flinch over the mechanical screaming. I take a deep breath and step right up to the truck's fender. I cup my trembling, hands around my mouth. I scream the confession at the absolute top of my lungs. "I got your daughter pregnant." I instantly close my eyes and brace for severe physical trauma. I fully expect to be beaten to death with a heavy-duty torquey wrench. I mentally prepare to be buried in a shallow grave behind the scrap metal dumpster. The air compressor abruptly clicks off. The ringing silence in the garage is terrifyingly heavy. My heart hammers a frantic, painful rhythm against my ribs. I slowly open one eye. Big Mike is standing completely still. He slowly grabs a filthy red shop rag from his back denim pocket. He meticulously wipes the thick black sludge off his massive hands. Every single second feels like an eternity in purgatory. He steps forward, towering over me like a very angry grizzly bear. He clears his throat with a terrifying, rumbling growl. He turns his head and spits a dark glob directly onto the stained concrete floor. He looks me dead in the eye. "You start this Saturday at 6 in the morning." I blink, completely paralyzed by sheer confusion. He points a massive, grease-stained finger directly at my chest. "You're sweeping bays and changing oil every weekend until that kid is born." He tosses the dirty rag directly at my face. "Diapers aren't free, kid. Don't be late." He turns back to the engine block and violently yanks a socket wrench. We back away slowly, terrified that sudden movement will break the spell. We stumble out of the garage and collapse into my front seats. I am breathing like I just outran an oncoming freight train. I officially have a second, entirely unpaid job. But we are both somehow still breathing. The high of survival lasts exactly until she pulls up our joint bank account app. We have a combined total savings of $212. We need a crib, a changing table, and a massive financial miracle. There is only one place cheap enough to furnish this impending disaster. We lock eyes in the sweltering car. We have to survive the blue and yellow labyrinth. It is a rainy, miserable Tuesday night. We are standing outside a massive blue and yellow fortress. IKEA, the ultimate test of human endurance and cheap particle board. We grab a giant yellow shopping bag and step into the labyrinth. The fluorescent lights hum with a soul-crushing intensity. We are instantly lost in the kitchen storage section. We don't need a bamboo salad bowl. We need a baby bed that costs less than $50. We blindly follow the painted floor arrows like desperate rats in a Swedish maze. Hour 2 of walking past endlessly identical couches. We finally breach the children's furniture department. It is a brightly colored nightmare of unpronounceable names. We find the absolute cheapest wooden crib in stock. It looks like it was manufactured from recycled popsicle sticks. She absolutely refuses to buy it without testing the structural integrity first. Before I can stop her, she violently tears open a flat pack box right there in the aisle. A bewildered employee in a yellow polo shirt watches in pure shock. She ignores him completely. She rips open the plastic hardware baggie with her teeth, drops to the linoleum floor, and starts assembling the crib with sheer, terrifying ferocity. Wooden dowels are flying everywhere. Pieces of cheap pine are snapping rapidly into place. She is a pregnant, hormonally enraged Scandinavian carpenter. I stand there watching her furiously tighten a hex bolt. Something abruptly clicks deep inside my completely fried brain. It isn't just the shared trauma or the terror of impending death anymore. It is a sudden, undeniable, completely overwhelming romantic attachment. My brain completely short-circuits. I have lived with this woman for 4 entirely platonic years. I have never seen anything more magnificent in my entire life. My heart starts pounding harder than Big Mike's industrial air compressor. I don't formulate a plan. I just act. I step right into the middle of the fake Scandinavian living display bedroom. I drop down onto one knee on the artificial geometric rug. She stops violently ratcheting a bolt and stares at me. Her hair is sticking to her forehead with sweat. She has a wooden peg clamped tightly between her lips. I reach out and gently take the tiny plastic Allen wrench from her trembling hand. I hold the cheap piece of plastic up between us like a flawless diamond ring. The bewildered employee physically drops his clipboard onto the floor. "Marry me," I blurt out. No hesitation, no irony. The words hang in the heavily air-conditioned atmosphere. She slowly takes the wooden peg out of her mouth. Her eyes are as wide as the porcelain dinner plates. The silence stretches out for what feels like a century. She looks down at the plastic wrench. She takes a shallow, shaky breath. She slowly looks back up at me. Yes. A single exhausted syllable in the middle of the IKEA display bedroom. I slide the plastic Allen wrench onto her finger. It fits perfectly. The bewildered employee in the yellow polo quietly backs away into the lamp section. We don't have time for a real wedding. We definitely don't have the budget. Fast forward to exactly 9 a.m. the following Tuesday. We are standing in the hallway of the dingy downtown courthouse. The fluorescent lights flicker with depressing government efficiency. We dragged our shell-shocked witnesses out of bed for this. My overbearing mother is aggressively sanitizing a wooden bench. Big Mike is wearing a clean flannel shirt that still smells heavily of transmission fluid. Mark is just standing there staring blankly, holding a half-eaten bodega bagel. Our wedding attire cost a combined total of $43. I am wearing a slightly oversized blazer from Goodwill. She is wearing a vintage sundress that smells vaguely of mothballs. We look like a couple of sleep-deprived grifters. The bailiff finally barks our names down the hall. We step into a cramped, windowless courtroom. The judge looks like he hasn't slept since the late 90s. He doesn't even bother looking up from his cluttered desk. There is absolutely zero romance in this room. There is a massive, incredibly vocal line of people outside the heavy wooden door. They are all waiting to aggressively dispute parking tickets. Someone violently kicks the door and yells about a broken meter on 5th Street. The judge sighs heavily and hits the gas pedal. He speed runs our marriage vows in under 2 minutes flat. It sounds exactly like the rapid-fire warning at the end of a medication commercial. Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I say I do. She says she does. He stamps a piece of paper loud enough to rattle my teeth. By the power vested in me by the state, you're married. Please exit to the left. We are officially husband and wife. No white doves, no string quartet, just the muffled sound of a guy outside threatening to sue the city. We walk out of the courthouse back into the oppressive summer heat. Our witnesses awkwardly hug us and scatter back to their actual lives. We are entirely alone again. We walk 2 blocks to a rusted metal pushcart under a faded umbrella. We buy 2 lukewarm street dogs wrapped in cheap foil. We sit on a pigeon-stained concrete bench next to a bus stop. Neon yellow mustard drips directly onto my thrift store blazer. She takes a huge bite of her hot dog and suddenly starts laughing. It is a genuine, unrestrained, completely hysterical laugh. We have negative money, a plastic engagement ring, and an impending child. But sitting on this filthy bench, eating boiled mystery meat, we feel bizarrely, completely victorious against the universe. We actually did it. We survived the breakdown, the silence, and the barefoot holistic doctor. I look at my new wife and smile. Then, she abruptly stops chewing. She drops her half-eaten hot dog directly onto the concrete. She grabs my hand and forcefully presses it flat against her stomach. A tiny, undeniable thump kicks violently against my palm. The abstract concept of a baby just became terrifyingly real. The timer to our personal apocalypse is officially ticking. Flash forward exactly 1 year. Our tiny apartment is completely unrecognizable. It looks like a plastic toy factory violently exploded inside our living room. Brightly colored plastic garbage covers every square inch of the floor. It is a hostile minefield of screaming electronic animals. Stepping on a singing plastic cow at 3 a.m. is my new daily reality. A full, unbroken night of sleep is a purely mythological concept. I vaguely remember what 8 continuous hours of rest feels like. It feels like a distant, beautiful hallucination. My bloodstream is currently 90% cheap coffee and pure survival instinct. It is 6:45 a.m. on a Tuesday. I am desperately trying to get ready for my soul-crushing IT job. I am crouching by the front door, furiously tying my black work shoes. My wife is sitting on the rug exactly 3 feet away. She is wearing a pair of gray sweatpants permanently stained with mysterious fluids. Her hair is trapped in a chaotic bun, secured by a plastic claw clip. She is holding a small, brightly colored bowl of pureed peas. Sitting directly between us is the architect of our absolute destruction, our son. He is currently 7 months old. He possesses the unpredictable energy of a drunken goblin. He also possesses my exact nose and her terrifying furniture-building ferocity. She tries to slowly maneuver a tiny plastic spoon toward his face. He violently rejects the green sludge. He slaps the incoming spoon with the brutal precision of a trained martial artist. A massive glob of pureed peas launches horizontally through the air. It completely defies the laws of indoor physics. It flies across the entryway in a perfect, glowing green arc. It lands directly inside my open left eye. A wet, aggressively squishy splat echoes in the tiny apartment. I completely freeze. I slowly blink, smearing cold vegetable mush across my eyelashes. The room instantly descends into a heavy, familiar silence. It is the exact same silence from the tow truck and the fake morgue. I slowly drag an index finger down my cheek, wiping away the green fallout. I look up from my half-tied shoelaces. I fully expect her to apologize or instantly panic. Instead, my wife violently shatters the tension. She throws her head back and starts laughing. It is a loud, chaotic, completely hysterical laugh. The exact same unrestrained laugh from that pigeon-stained courthouse bench. Our son immediately joins in on the joke. He unleashes a high-pitched, toothless giggle. He claps his tiny pea-covered hands together in pure, unadulterated triumph. I sit there on the floor with green mush dripping down my collar. I look at the singing plastic cow. I look at my beautiful, exhausted wife in her ruined sweatpants. I look at the tiny human who simultaneously bankrupted us and saved our lives. My chest suddenly tightens with an overwhelming, suffocating warmth. The sheer impossible absurdity of the last year completely washes over me. I wipe my stinging eye with my shirt sleeve and start laughing right along with them. I wouldn't trade this chaotic timeline for anything in the universe.